Yes, I'm Paul. I am the founder of Gloam, and I'm in London. Yes, so I make AR experiences, all filters, predominantly for Instagram and Facebook, because that's what the clients want. I can also make them for TikTok and Snapchat. So yes, I've been deep down the AR hole for about 3 years. It all started in 2019. I used to lead the social media for a charity here in London, and I was invited into Facebook HQ for a social for good event, where they wanted to team up with us to kind of promote what we did more on Facebook. And as I was talking to one of the strategists at Facebook, they said, do I know what Spark is? The AR platform. I didn't. He showed me it. He showed me the effect he made, and it's one of those kind of light bulb moments where I kind of got all giddy like a kid, got super excited. I could see the potential in this. I was excited by the idea in being creative, what I could do. So much to learn. So I ran home pretty much after that day. And then I built my first effect that weekend for the charity I worked for, and it was a butterfly effect where the user had a butterfly flying around their head. And I brought that back to my boss back at the charity, showed them that they got excited too, and we pretty much published it, and that was our first effect. We turned that into a campaign. We got a series of people who we tried to help to use it. So we did that as a campaign behind the scenes. We launched the filter. Then throughout that week, we got these people to share it as well and ask their fans to use it. And it was great. It was I was super excited to actually create something from scratch. And yeah, so it was only a matter of time off the back of that I would probably leave that world. I've been doing it for a number of years, and then I was keen to go down the AR world. So, and I've been doing that full time for nearly 3 years, and yeah, it's been amazing. So the community is incredible. They mostly live on the Spark Community Facebook group. I think when I joined that, there's probably about 30,000 people on there. Now there's probably 130,000 or so. So it's grown. But back then, you're right, there wasn't so much tools to actually learn it. So one source was the Spark's official website. They had pretty much all the very basics of what each patch did, how to do things. So that was kind of stage one. YouTube's incredible. It was back then, and even better now, where you could Google anything you wanted and somebody somewhere would probably share some stuff. People probably worth a name check from the start were probably Josh Beckworth. Incredible. I think he's a coder by trade, but he really knows how to do some incredible kind of beautiful things from scratch, and he's been amazing to share all that stuff. So a lot of stuff I learned from him, even if it's just the basics of how something's made. I would then be able to take that and then reshape that for what I wanted to do. An example of that is probably my flower fight effect. The first one I took seriously, where I wanted to build something hyper immersive, super real. And in one of the tutorials online, Josh did a particles one where you could move your heads and the particles would actually move with the direction of your face and head. So that was my flower fight effect, was a similar kind of thing to that, but in mine you shook your head and it was particles. In this case, a flower would explode off your face in real time. So it actually looked pretty real. So yeah, it's all thanks to Josh. I kind of went down that way for that thing. Yeah, amazing. Anybody starting out, the first thing you want to do is obviously learn how to make effects. So what I did, any effect that I made, I would try to do something different in each effect. So essentially, I'm learning myself as I go along. So each thing I did was different. And then essentially that kind of, after about making 10 different effects, I've got a portfolio of effects. So then I kind of turn that around into, right, I've learned what I need to learn. my next phase is I need to rebrand what I'm doing. So doing it for me, I'm offering the service to a brand. So everything I do needs to be with the approach of a showcase of this is what I could do for your brand. So it's very much kind of, instead of a B2C thing where I'm doing it to get fans and stuff, to people to use the effects that I make. My goal of phase 2 was I'm only doing it not to get reach and people to use it. I'm doing it purely, the audience are people who make the brands, who are the brands. So that was the big approach there. So I would contact a lot of the people which I already knew. I spent a lot of time on my website. So SEO, I rank, Gloam is on the first page of Google and Bing. So a lot of time writing my blog. So essentially, again, the audience, people I'm trying to talk to are brands. So I'm doing it in a kind of one-to-one. This is what I could do for your brand. These are the effects that AR can do for you. And then a lot of my work actually comes through SEO from people from all around the world who find my site online. I probably get at least 50% of my work through there. And then, once somebody contacts me, it starts off with a Zoom call. So it will be finding out exactly what they want. Everybody who comes to me, a brand, has always got an idea. It's not like they're coming and they want to get an idea. They've got the idea. And because the education from a brand's point of view is they don't really know what AR can do for them, which is amazing potential opportunity for people like me to start to showcase what we could do. So there's always they're on the left-hand side, I'm on the right, and we're trying to meet in the middle. By the time we get to the middle for the idea which they've got and what I could do to make it better, they're really excited because they had this kind of simple kind of thing, I want this, where I can make it 3 times better than that. So often it's selling in what we can do. In fact, it's not selling in, I wouldn't say it's selling, it's just showing them what we could do. So they get pretty excited. It doesn't take long after that for them to up their budgets, then get to stage to sign it off, and then we'll go into production. So it's all about, I'm trying to educate with everything I do a brand. So it's very much B2B. I'm a business to a business. In the process of me talking to a brand during a Zoom call, the initial chat, figuring out the idea they have and how I could turn that into a filter. The process for me, which I find works pretty well, is that if it's an agency, they're obviously the conduit between me and the client. So the clients come to them, or they've pitched to a client an idea. So there'll be a very brief, what I do is I write up a very informal contract. It's just a top line of, this is what the creative idea is for the filter for them. And they'll sign that, and that'll agree the timeline and the budget. And once that's done, I'll go into production. So the creative part is that I roughly say always a filter is in 2 parts. It's part 1, it'll just be me, head down, alone. I've got all the content from them. I need to spend some time on my own making it. And during that, I'll absolutely I'll stick to the agreed brief. So this is what they want. But I will say to them as well beforehand, I will experiment as I go along. If I find something in there which might potentially make it better, I'll add that in as an option as well. So I'll create exactly what they want, but I'll give a second example, or maybe 2 or 3 things in there which we didn't think of at the time during our first chat. And it's I won't talk to them that entire week. By the end of the week on a Friday, I'll share them the first test link and go, this is exactly what we wanted from the brief, but I've come up with 2 more ideas here. Then then that week 2 is them feeding back. We'll be in the cahoots a lot then. We'll be sharing around a lot of links, a lot of amends, a lot of feedback to either take the absolute brief or the new ideas, and then figure out how can we finish this off by the end of week 2. That's roughly the way the creative part works. Me on my own week 1, sharing a lot of what we've learned in week 1 and week 2, and then the end of week 2 getting it published. So that will be on a Friday, and as you probably know, filters these days can be published quite quick. So yeah, this is Gloam.io. This is our website. When I first started Gloam, it was very much showing the portfolio of work which I've done. As we've grown and the more brands we've worked with, and we've worked with a lot of brands, it's turned into more of a portfolio for brand to brands. It's all about business for us. So one of probably the favourite filter I worked on here was the NBA and Beats, 2 amazingly big brands to work with. I couldn't believe my luck. I say it was luck. So this came about because he found me on Instagram, the agency who looked after the NBA, and they asked me to pitch. So I put together a PSD, Photoshop file, storyboard of 4 ideas of what their filter could be. And I won that pitch. So that was amazing to get a chance to pitch to them and win this. This really kind of boosted my confidence in going, these are potentially 2 of the biggest brands in the world. And if I could win this pitch compared to the other people who pitched for them, it sort of showed that I could potentially make this into a full-time job. So yeah, this was an Instagram and Facebook effect, and I'll actually play this for you. This is front and back camera. So during the brief, they wanted a front and back camera effect. They wanted that because not many brands at the time had used both sides. So we decided to have the user on the front, where they could pick the jersey and play a Beats track. Then once they've chosen that, they jump to the back side, and they can place the basketball hoop in the real world and play anywhere. And I'll play that for you. So as you can see there, yeah, it's a unique game. I'm proud of this because I've never seen something like this before. It ticks off all the parts of the branding. So it's got the music from Beats, they're wearing the shirt, the top, and on the back side you can play the game anywhere you want. So yeah, yeah, it's amazing, I think. Yeah. Oh yes, and a little bonus thing I threw in this. This is a little Easter egg. Is if you turn your phone to the side, it turns into what I called game night mode. So you can turn your phone landscape upside down, and it fades out the light. So you're actually playing in the dark. And then I can play that as well here. So as you can see, yeah, it's a totally fun thing. It's just a silly thing. It's just an extra bonus kind of Easter egg for people to play. These are some of the brands we've worked with here. So there's a mix of from Beats, the NBA, FIFA, Parlophone, ESPN. So these are people who either found me via my website. ESPN loved what we did there with the NBA one, and they wanted me to make one for them, basketball game. There's some of these as well. I've had to make the contacts myself and showcase them. Probably a top tip here is I offered to Parlophone, I wanted to work for them and make a filter for them. So I said I'd make one for free with no catch at all. So I made one for an artist for them for free. That was probably quite a lot of work. Probably it was full time for at least 2 weeks. It went live. Then they could see what I could do, and then I've made quite a few for them since. And they've passed on my name. So if you're keen to make a filter for a brand but you're struggling to get in, offer to do it for free, and you'll get the extra work back pretty soon. So although you're doing it for free and it feels slightly unfair, I recommend doing something for free at the start if you're struggling to get a brand. Here's one I made for a charity. It's your randomizer effect, but in 3D. I added some physics here, which is quite fun. Let me play that. Make that trunk swing. There's a lot to learn when you're making an AR effect. It's not just about sticking some patches together. I'm pretty proficient in Photoshop, but along the way, I've started to learn how to actually model things in Blender. So ESPN came to me. They wanted to make some goggles for them. This is quite a big deal for people in the States if you're American. So it was an NBA effect. So they specifically had the goggles they wanted. They're in gold. I had to make this from scratch in Blender. So I probably spent, I was having to about 3 or 4 in the morning each night. I worked across the weekend learning how to make it from scratch. And we got that at the end, and this is what it looks like. So yeah, as we said at the start, there's you can learn anything online. So even though I'd never made something like that before, I never felt like I couldn't make it. If I couldn't, I'd probably outreach it, and I would find somebody online who could. But because being an AR nerd, I was confident enough I couldn't make it myself. It would just take me a lot of time. So I just put in that time, and yeah, I lost the time to make that, but I actually made it in the end. So pretty pleased, I think. Here's one we made for the World Cup with the FIFA in CreatAR, little game. Another basketball one I did for ESPN. I'll quickly play this. You can see how this evolved from the NBA one. So this was just an effect on the front here. So it's one of those the old arcade shoot for the hoop games. So you've got the quick fire balls, and you can obviously move your head from left to right to try and catch the balls. Here's what I did for a charity. And my latest work here, which I'm incredibly proud of, is called Glowbird. So this is a world first for fit filters. So this is where I discovered by absolute fluke that you could pick up an object and interact with it. So in this case, I've turned it into a bird. I've called him Glowbird, and you can pick him up with your hand, and as you bring him towards you, he starts to sing and changes colours from a blackbird into the colours of Glowbird, which is the branding for Glow. And I've had 500 of these printed up on incredible, beautiful seed card, which you can plant. Because all the filters we make for brands, we are a climate positive brand, so we plant 5 trees in Scotland to offset the usage of each filter we make. We plant them at the end of the year. So to follow through in the values of Glow, all of our filters are climate positive, and the cards that Glowbird is printed on, like I say, it's seed card that you can plant. So yeah, I'm amazingly pleased with this. Essentially what I'm doing here is showcasing, one, what AR can do. So it's pretty cool that you can pick up a bird. 2, it's all about a branding exercise. So I've been dropping these off by hand on my Brompton bicycle here in London. I've done 2 drops so far in real time, 2 full days in the scorching hot, to 40 places on my list. That's arranged from agencies to people like Lego, to the BBC, to Channel 4 here, all sorts of Burberry. So finding out who the main contact there is, and then dropping off hand by hand on my Brompton an exclusive Glow card to them. I don't expect them to call me back immediately. I think from a B2B point of view, is 5% of people are searching for a product now. In this case, it'd be a filter, but 95% aren't, but they will be in the future. So my aim is to hand these out to people. I'm pretty sure I'm probably the only one who's doing this. So if I can get these into people into the right hands, I will definitely be front or near the top of their mind when eventually, and they will probably want a filter at some point. That could be in a month, it could be in a year's time, it could be in 5 years' time. I think it's a pretty unforgettable experience to have something hand delivered that you can interact like this, that's full of Gloam and the branding. So I don't expect people to contact me immediately, but yeah, I'm confident that they will do in the future. And I can always jog their memory. In 6 months' time, we'll probably actually release Gloam Bird as a winter one, probably towards the end of the year. So it'll be like part 1 and part 2. But yes, if you want to see more about Gloam Bird, you can find him on www.gloambird.com. Yeah, some advice to some people thinking or starting an AR career. Lesson 1 I'd probably say is I'd never made an AR experience before I started, and it's pretty, what's the word, it's pretty, there's a lot to learn. It's quite a scary mountain to climb, but I'd see that as an opportunity. There's a lot to learn, and it's so easy to learn all that stuff online, so you can find out there's so many things to, if you're trying to do to make an effect, there's so many things online to get, so it's easier than you think, so I wouldn't let that put you off. Working with brands is easier than you think. Often brands don't know what AR can do, so as you as the expert, it's your job to educate them. So I see that as being an expert. It's very easy-ish to convince a brand of how to make a great effect. Their idea will be good, but it's easier to make it better. So that's something you should feel confident about. Buzzwords probably at the moment are obviously the metaverse, Web3 and AR. I think it's a hat trick of things where every business will be involved in those 3 things. AR, out of all of them, is by far the one which has got the most potential. It's already huge now, so pretty much the big effects currently are on the front camera, but we're yet to get there, but it's coming soon, where the back camera will be the dominant effects, I think. We're waiting for Apple to release their AR thing, so that's coming soon. They won't be the only brand doing that. I think being able to augment the real world with some sort of wearable will be huge. So I think we're at the beginning of the S curve here. I think we are pretty much early adopters, and it'll probably take 20 years to get to the top of that curve where it's kind of dominant. Pretty much like the iPhone took 10 years to get to its peak. It was quite a slow burn at the start. So I think AR we're pretty early here. So if you're thinking about getting into AR, this world will get much bigger, which will be more jobs, more brands, more things you can work on. So don't feel like it's too late. I think you're not early, but you're early enough for sure.